are here in Johnson, and behind me is the Johnson Public Library. Last night, it moved from its location on Railroad Street, where it was since 1909, where it has flooded countless times over the years, to its new location on School Street, below the Johnson Elementary School. It's on higher ground, it's out of the flood zone.
I mean, I can't even tell you, this community moved this library.
Do you guys want to help me a little bit more?
Okay.
Do you mind getting them?
Okay.
You guys are great. Thank you.
The library had this pipe dream for years, right? We should just move the library, right? But like, in the face of disaster after disaster after disaster, like those pipe dreams become the solution.
Cool and magical to see everyone there.
The community at 5 o'clock, the whole town was here. That tells you how important this is. Just very moving.
It certainly is a piece of history well worth all that the town has gone through to preserve it.
Well, this is a real historical moment.
This is a very loud library coming in our direction.
Well, we moved the library across town, and it took the whole street in most places. Yeah, it was exciting. It started off, a couple hiccups.
So there was like jacking and turning, and in the process of this back and forth, a tire popped.
I said, there's no way they're going to fix flat tires, stuck tires, broken hydraulic hoses, buildings in the way, trees in the way.
We've moved 12 feet, like it's now 1 o'clock, then 2 o'clock. We're only allowed to be on Route 15 between 3 and 6.
AOT was very firm at 6 a.m. They were not excited about a 3-hour shutdown of the major east-west road in northern Vermont.
One guy, Brian, Sawzall hero. Yeah. He's a Sawzall hero. I don't know if you've heard about the Great Blue Building in 2025, but it was in the way of the library.
It was a tight corner, so it was the hardest corner. It was the first corner.
And out of nowhere, you see this guy, and he's cutting the library.
And they said, yes, cut it. And then so we cut it, and then it fit, and it just barely rubbed the roof, but there was no damage.
Well, he likes an opportunity to rise to the occasion, and he thrives in chaos.
It's typical my dad. He's a little crazy sometimes.
Normally you don't want to cut the corners. When it takes a community, you cut corners.
Big epic tale. Well, we were there for 4 hours, and then that was the point when we could keep going.
Were you here when we turned the corner, like from Railroad Street onto Main Street?
And here it comes down Main Street. Unbelievable. Well, having it moved, period, being a brick building, it boggles the mind. And they're going to be moving us here pretty quick.
Yeah, it's all hydraulically driven. Systems on the other end of it. It's got hoses, lines everywhere, diesel engine, hydraulic drives. But it does take a lot of finesse and a lot of muscling those around to get it to turn, that aggressively. You can drive it and turn, somewhat, but it seems like if you want to do some crazy maneuvers, they have to jack it up, actually turn the dollies. And
Amazing. They had to cut some trees down.
there was no way around it. It was that or the library. I lived in the middle of the street.
So we had the July 23 flood, and we were going through the FEMA process. And when you're like in the FEMA process, you're still living in like an unfinished building. So we had an unfinished municipal building and an unfinished library and an unfinished lots of things. And Gene Engel, the librarian, said, I can't keep shoveling out the basement. And then this grant got announced for better internet connectivity.
There's 2 weeks to fill this thing out. Can we just go for it?
Spouses, like measuring the distance between poles. We had quotes from contractors. We had quotes from building movers. The whole project was designed in 2 weeks.
And the town administrator and the library director and the trustees just all took varying parts of the grant. We divided and conquered, and we submitted it and got it in. And then we found out in October that we were granted $1.7 million.
And we're like, all right, we got this. Whew. What are we gonna do now? But that same group of people, and now enlarged to an entire community, literally was the GC for this job. Wish I could show you some of the text threads. We need a runner to Maple Fields, let them know power's going out. We have like pedestrians in the work zone at this address, like boom, 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 like, I mean, it was like magical.
One thing that blows my mind about it is the incredible planning that had to go into this. This all had to be studied and planned and organized and then orchestrated and carried out.
177 people were in the work zone, 28 bucket trucks, 4 cruisers, 2 ambulances, and a fire engine, and a UTV. That was kind of cool. And skid steers as well, skid steers, backhoes. That's a lot of things in a half a mile.
Johnson, we've got a guy from Hyde Park down here. We've got a guy from Wolcott here.
We have cables across the ground.
Power lines everywhere.
Yeah, granted, they were de-energized.
There were crews ahead of them taking wires down, laying the boards that they needed. There were crews behind them putting the wires back up, picking up the boards, bringing them to the front. It went like a completely well-oiled machine.
All on the route, there was people waiting and cheering and honking and
I got up at 5 o'clock and we watched it go over the bridge.
It's been raining all morning, which is kind of perfect considering the library is moving to get away from flooding.
I walked around the corner and saw it crossing the bridge and I got really teary, and then my mom turned to me and she goes, "I don't know why I'm getting choked up." And I'm like, "It's because it's a historical building. It was my first job. It means a lot to me. And libraries are great."
So we started on the Gihon, right? Rolling away from this flooding on a day that downpoured and the water's really high. And the irony, but also it's kind of poetic that that's what we're leaving and we're saying goodbye. And we're crossing this bridge to a new tomorrow. This is literally the first chapter in rewriting our story.
This is amazing. I have been anticipating this so much I didn't really know what to expect. So when we turned the corner this morning and saw the library, the first thing we all thought was, it looks so big and it's moving so slowly and we can't take our eyes off of it. And I heard that it's moving 3 miles an hour.
That building was built in 1909 by a group of women who weren't even legally allowed to vote at the time, but felt that it was important that our town had a library. I know that a lot of people might think that this is a trivial way to move our library. Why didn't we just build new? But it's in this disposable society, we're preserving something that is a really important piece of our history that we can be proud of.
Why we had to move it, because its foundation was sinking into the mud, right? It was going to fall apart where it was. We had to do something, and the cost to do it in place was probably more than doing what we did.
I think it'll thrive here. Yeah.
Put the fan!
It's one of the biggest experiences that I've had being here at college, so it's just really nice seeing something big and having the community be here to join us today.
Libraries are community centers, right? It's the heart of the community now.
It's such a big part of our family.
I spent the night in there the last 2 floods, tried to keep the water out.
You're transported to a different world and there's something for everyone.
Up until recently, a lot of us didn't have internet that lived on the back roads. We would come to the library. It's just been a real center of our town. And now to have it here by the elementary school, pretty exciting.
We've got the oven here. We've got an ice rink right out front here in the wintertime. The school, the bandstand. We have live music in the summer. We're making pizza for the community today in celebration. That's kind of the Johnson way. When there's something to celebrate, we make pizza.
For Johnson, we came to gather around the mills and the rivers, but now it's those rivers that are taking our town away.
It is an investment in our future, saying that, our future is not in the floodplain. Our future is up out of the floodplain, and we have a future.
This is the message for Johnson and all of Vermont. We have to do something different, right? We have to change.
It was something I was dreading, and it actually turned into something I'm going to probably remember forever.
The community of Johnson no longer has to worry about their library every time it rains.
This is one of those times when I'm proud to say I live in Johnson.
The Johnson Public Library hopes to reopen in this location at the end of the year, and we will get stuck in Vermont with you again real soon.
Turn the page, close the chapter, end the chapter, but start a new one.
And chapter 1 so we can start chapter 2.
Okay. My daughter used to babysit you when you were a baby.
I grew up in Johnson, and I know that if I had lived here during this move, I would have been out all night, so excited. It's something I'm never going to forget.
I will never forget it either, yeah.